Frankie, can you do it?
Sure, let's all stand, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that you have blessed us with. We just ask you to guide us and direct us through this meeting and help us to make the decisions that are in the best interest of the Cherokee people. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you. Joe?
Dick Lay.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Joe Bird.
I do.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Julia Coates. Here. Jody Fishinghawk. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Don Garvin. Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Anna Glory Jordan. Lee Keener.
Thank you.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Janice Taylor. Here. David Thornton.
Me.
Victoria Vesquez. David Walkingstick. Tara Cowan Watts.
Honey.
We do have a quorum.
I'd like to ask for approval of the minutes.
Make a motion to be approved.
Second. All in favor, say aye. On the reports is, I don't, yeah, there's Marcia, you're first.
Afternoon. I don't have much to report, but I did want to thank all of you for your hard work with the Angel Tree. We were able to have over 2,000, I believe the count was 2217 children. And as far as my staff knows, all the emergency situations were handled. So this steadily increases every year, and so we're always anticipating this time. You have your reports. Is there anything I need to?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, Marcia.
Well,
I just want to thank you and your staff for all the help. I know I send you some complicated cases at times, and they really step up, and it's not always with any kind of real time frame. Almost every time it's and now.
yeah.
And some of them are really sad outcomes. I know that recent one, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I know they have a lot on their plate, and I want to thank them for that. And we're at the Collinsville Food Distribution, that we're going to bring that up. I think is it later this week we have the opening. So I know Buell England extends his thanks to the city of Collinsville. Now, have we worked out the Indian child welfare issues around registration? Do we know what that plan is? We had some kind of report, but I don't recall it being conclusive about a path forward.
I'm not sure at the time, but let me check on it.
Okay. I would like to know, so that we avoid those, to be frank, the Veronica Brown kind of situations, which seem to continue to be occurring, where there's a misspelling of a name, wrong birth date. Is there, and make sure there's expedites. Is there a way to check it differently, to verify folks, or requirements to registration from the adopting agencies through you guys?
Was there some wrong information given? Is that
The
what
way
it
I
was?
understand on the Veronica Brown case was they misspelled a Dustin's name, and they gave possibly the wrong birth date.
Okay.
So instead of those kind of checks, do we require the parent's birth certificate? Those kind of, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that
I
we
know
don't,
what you're saying.
so there's not an intentional evasion of the process. It should be simple and straightforward, but apparently it can't be for South Carolina adoption attorneys,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah.
So is there a way that we can help strengthen that in terms of Indian child welfare for registration checks?
I'm actually going to a meeting with ICW this week, and I'll make sure to see what safeguards we have in place. I kind of vaguely remember that, but I don't remember what the response was. I don't know.
And so if we could kind of get an update on where you're at with that, I think there's some follow-up after my initial question on it, but if we could get some more, that would be great.
Okay.
It looks like under the $200 every 6 months assistance, that's really that LIHEAP add-on, that there's no additional folks this month, is that correct? Or this year, we haven't had anybody sign on for that in the report?
Here is kind of we lose people because of their age, you know, and so we'll add, so it's never really a big increase. it just kind of stays just right around the same, so unless that changes. I haven't, we're getting the figures together now for probably a payout around February, middle of February.
So at the next meeting, can we go ahead and have another report for this program since inception? I think you provided this before, just need a matter of updating by
Okay.
county. And I know, I guess there's been changes in income levels, right? Does that include LIHEAP, that they've increased, they've changed the poverty level line?
Yeah,
or-
it changes every year.
But I think there's
Usually
been
goes
an
down.
actual
I mean,
adjustment
Yeah,
to include more people, not
Yeah.
just, so, and then we already had an adjustment on top of that, where was it based on a percentage from that? So that may increase that drastically, that number of people that are eligible. So I'd like a review of the program.
do you want it by county or district?
How about,
It's kind of hard to do it because some of those districts are.
I think county is very reasonable.
Okay.
And if you want to do city, I don't know. I mean, we're not talking about a lot, right? Okay, I don't know if it makes sense to do it by city, county. It's
Like
whatever,
Tulsa and Muskogee, you know, that, we'll probably, we'll break it out as best we can.
okay. And then like what that looks like over time, so we make sure as we come into budget season that we're making
Sure.
sure that there's proper money set aside, especially the impact on changes on the income requirements.
Okay.
Then elder advocates, I tried to look through the report, but I couldn't see, have we ever hired one for Rogers County, or what's going on with that program? I know,
We have interviewed, advertised, and right now we're in the interviewing process, probably about the fourth time. So we're trying to get it filled. We have probably more interest now than we ever have, so hopefully we will get that one.
so if there's nothing left to post, people still can't apply because that's already closed, right, for this round? Okay,
That's what's happened, is there's been some people interested in it, so.
okay. I appreciate it. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Harley?
Marcia, I told you about a person yesterday about the roof blowed off their house.
Yeah.
Did he get taken care of today?
Yes. Well, I say that, it didn't fall directly under my program, but I had Ron Qualls and yeah, anybody I could think of, and I got a call back from Ron's group this morning that they were going to go out on that.
Okay. Just bring this up for the committee and Marcia and hopefully Ron may be here, but it seems as though that we have emergencies occur probably Friday evening at 8 o'clock or Saturday morning at 3 o'clock in the morning or Sunday morning. What happened yesterday, had a guy call me, lives in a mobile home, a disabled person.
What's it called?
And about 14, 15 foot of his roof blew off the house. I couldn't go over there and do anything for him, so I called Marcia, had him to call Marcia for assistance.
Okay.
There's really not any mechanism for, I guess, the Cherokee Nation to go help those people. I don't know what we'd have done if it would have been -5 degrees or pouring down rain yesterday. What would we do? What would we do?
Well, usually in a situation like that, I can put them up in a hotel, you know, I told you that before.
Yeah.
But talking with the gentleman, he was okay. At the time, he had his son up there trying to get something on there, so, you know, in my judgment, I thought he was okay until we could get it fixed. Now, I think there's some other things going on that my department can go out and check on, make sure, since he is disabled, and it sounded like his house wasn't up to par, that we could do an assessment on it.
And I'm glad to hear that too, and I knew that, Marcia, too. It looked to me like there'd be a better way to maybe solve these problems. If we had a vendor from southern end, northern end, eastern end, western end, that some of our programs could put on the contract to not to exceed a $250 or $500 limit to go out and take care of people like that. All I have to do is get on the telephone and call this vendor to go out and either help or take care of what the problem was. The other thing is on water. You know, you've always had people, elderly people, they can't get out and unthaw a water line, or water lines break. And I know our people probably working here, probably you couldn't get a hold of them to go fix them. So if we had a contractor on contract, then you could always do this by not exceeding a certain dollar amount, certainly take care of it, and that contractor knows that he's on call to do those things. That's just a suggestion. It seems so, it never fails that I will get a call on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning with those emergencies. So, Marcia, I would ask you and some of the other program directors maybe to come up with a solution to that, to where we could look at that. And I think it would take a lot, of pressure even off the program directors to have that person in place. All you have to do is make a phone call and get it taken care of. And I know there's some more logistics about doing it, you know, income guidelines and CDIB cards or blue cards and things like that.
Yeah, the only problem I see on that is, you know, we get a call and go out and fix someone's roof, and they're not even eligible.
Yeah, and that's what you
Indian,
need to
you
work out.
know, so, we would have to have some mechanisms for that.
Yes, and that's something that I think you can work out with other program directors to get that worked out, because it's just difficult for me as a tribal council member to see a disabled person have a roof blown off his house and you say, well, we can't do anything for you until Monday morning. It's just hard. You don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
You want something done. I understand you did offer them a hotel, which is
Yes.
good. So, anyway, I would ask you and some of the other program directors to look at it. But thank you for taking care of that too, Marcia. Thank you.
Well, it wasn't just me, it was a conglomerate of people, so.
Thank those people too.
Jody?
What did we do about the last day of light heat being the snow day?
I'm sorry, Jody, I
The
can't.
last day of light heat being the snow day?
Oh, I'm sure we'll extend it. We very seldom turn anyone down for LIHEAP as long as we have funding for it. It's, and we have other programs that can pick the same thing up. So, did you have somebody?
Yeah, I'll get with you.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
David?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about this contract a little more on the weekends, if someone has a problem. And I know in the past I've made a couple of calls, and maybe they'd say, well, we can get this contractor to do it. So they call that contractor, but those people are booked up. And they may not can go out on the job right then, and it may be a while before they can go out on the job. So I don't know what we're going to do there, but we need something done.
I don't
Mr.
either.
Buzzard's
It's gonna take some brainstorming on that. And now I do know that the emergency management team, if it's they have stepped up and taken people to dialysis on those severe ice dates that we had. I do know that. So, but I believe this was wind damage, wasn't it? That's what it sounded like. And, you know, they call the council for that, so. But I think we're all gonna have to sit down and see if there's a way we can work all this stuff out.
I know at one time through the housing authority, we had crews in different areas. There was one in my area, there was one in the northern area, and one in the central. And these people would go out and help these people on the weekend. But anymore, you know, that was eliminated. It was great when it started, and it helped a lot of people. But it's something that needs to be looked at,
Yeah.
where we wouldn't have to call a contractor. You know, if we have an electrician on board, we have a carpenter on
That
board.
may be, you know, Ron may have an answer to that
Yeah,
when he comes up.
to help us there. But just a thought, but we need to do something about those people that have those emergencies on the weekends. Friday evening. So, thank you.
Marcia, on the CDC in Stillwell, I know we built that to be able to double the enrollment, and we've yet to accomplish that. Of course, we had the hiring freeze, and we weren't able to hire the staff. I know we've been hiring staff here lately. One of the issues that I think may be blocking the growing enrollment is how we integrated the classrooms to contain all ages instead of having them separated. Can we look at that and see if that's keeping, if that's the issue? Because I know we still have quite a waiting list, and we need to get that enrollment up. Because it's been open, what, 6, 7 months now? And
Yeah.
we need to, it has increased some, but it hasn't doubled.
Yes.
If we could look at that and get a report on that, please.
Okay.
Marcia, the Veteran Center, the personnel, are we gonna get some VA personnel coming into the Veteran Center
Do we have any personnel coming in for the Veterans Center?
from the VA, from the Veterans Administration?
We are in the last process of hiring the staff for that. For the Veterans Center, is that what you asked, sir? Yes.
Will they be our employees or Veterans Administration?
The ones I'm hiring are our employees.
Are we also going to have a couple of staff members from the Veterans Administration?
Are we going to what?
Have 2 staff members from the VA itself?
I have a MOA with the Veterans Administration that I house. There's probably 3 people that come in from the Veterans Administration that I provide office space for, which will be at the Veterans Center. And I'm going to hire a manager and probably a receptionist. That's the only 2 that I'm hiring.
You got 2 more to go, right?
Yeah,
And these other folks will be paid by the VA.
yes, yes, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you. Wrong qual.
Good afternoon. I'd be happy to serve with Marcia on that work group and see what we come up with. Mr. Pruitt has a couple of things that I've asked him to go over with you all. You got it. But before that, last committee meeting, I mentioned the agreement with the Delawares. And this morning, we received a response from the Delawares, and they had no changes to the agreement that we sent in some time ago. That's good news, so we'll be following through with that. We'll provide each of you another copy of the agreement. And we're going to ask that we put it in the February agenda for council consideration. Don't know the exact process, but I believe there's a rules committee that we may be able to go through. Whatever the process is, we'll get it to you in plenty of time so we can get it reviewed. And, the gist of the agreement is to remove the Delawares from being a subrecipient of the Cherokee Nation. As you all may know, the Delawares lost their federal recognition, I believe it was back in 2004 or 2005. Cherokee Nation has been their, they've been our subrecipient since then. And what we do is there's certain funding that they get annually to maintain their mutual help units and their low rent units. And that funding comes down through the Cherokee Nation and then is requested by the Delaware, and then we transfer it to them based upon their request. The agreement that we've worked out removes the Cherokee Nation from that process. And Delaware's funding would go directly to what HUD calls a locks system. It's just a system to hold the money until it's needed by the tribes. And then once this agreement's in place, then the Delawares would make the request from HUD instead of coming through us. The thing that's difficult for us is that we are responsible for monitoring their use of the funds. And this agreement will get us out of the monitoring of the Delaware. Anyway, we're looking forward to getting that into place, and we'll have some more discussions and get you another copy of the agreement later this week if we get a chance. We want to review it and review it and review it to make sure there's been no changes in it. So after we've done that, we'll get you a copy. Any questions?
Stick was first, and then I've got David, see a couple more hands.
Hey Ron, at the intertribal last week, you guys had a chance to meet with HUD, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And did you guys get any clarification on transferring funds from rehab homes to housing authority, vice versa?
Mr. Wayne Sims, the administrator of the Oklahoma City HUD office, one of the questions, the main questions the question that was brought up was, as a term, if money is borrowed, what is the shortest term that we could have as far as a payback? And Mr. Sims agreed with us that the term is our call. We could have a 20-year term to borrow money, 10-year, 5-year, 1 year. That would be our call. Of course, the shorter the term, money has to be paid back in that particular time frame. So yeah, he agreed that the term is our call.
So it's doable.
It's doable.
Thanks.
Ron, we'll go back to the Delaware deal you was talking about.
Yes.
And the funding that we receive, is that strictly for Delaware? Is that some of our funding that we hold and then?
The funding comes down all at one time. Our funding, Cherokee Nation funding, and Delaware funding, it's all funded at the same time. The Delaware's funding is approximately $480,000 a year, and it's for their funding for their mutual help and low rent units. They have to maintain those units, their units, with that funding first, and if they have money left, then they can do other things with it.
Well, that funding doesn't come from Cherokee Nation.
No, well, it's Delaware funding, but since the Delaware's wasn't federally recognized, there was no mechanism in place to allow them to get the funding. So they provided, it went through the Cherokee Nation, and Cherokee Nation, even before the Delawares got their federal recognition back, Cherokee Nation would fund the housing authority. They did have a housing authority, and we would fund the housing authority so they could maintain their units.
Then we had to audit that.
Yes.
So you keep track of it. But this way, it'll go straight to Delaware.
Yes. Yes. We'll be out of the loop.
I know that they're housing their low income. They've got several Cherokees that they house for us. All Delawares.
As a matter of fact, I think a good number of the families living in their units are Cherokee.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I remember when it came down. Okay, thank you very much.
Tyler?
Yes, Ron, if we make an agreement to pay back the homes that we need built, the replacement homes over a 5-year period, do we have enough money now to go forward and get those homes built?
We have approximately $2.1 million. That would build approximately 25 we have closer to 60 families that are on our replacement list.
What does this group, this body, need to do to expedite the movement of building those homes from your department to the housing authority? And how can we transfer the funds to the housing authority and transfer, if we need to, some of the needed personnel?
All we need is a director from the chief, and we'll do it. Now,
Well, lay out the step-by-step process. Chief says, Ron, get this done.
we would meet with Gary, see how many employees he needs that we can transfer, and we'd be willing to transfer. That's not a problem. The other thing would be is our funds is federal funds, is NAHASTA funds. So if the 2.1 million is transferred to the housing authority to build houses, then all of a sudden they're in the same situation we are. All the red tape, all the environmentals, lead-based paint testing.
Let's go to the environmentals. The environmentals are being done with Tom Elkins.
That's right.
Right? And as far as I can tell from watching the environmentals, they're very timely done.
Yeah, and it doesn't, they don't charge our program, it's
And
just the
there's no
time.
charge.
It's
That was
just,
the
that's
other
right, it's
thing
just a
I-
time factor.
So that's just a hoop to jump through, which we could already be doing that.
Good.
I mean, we started talking about making this transfer 6-8 months ago. And we could have jumped through the hoop of the environmentals. Tell me what the next step would have been.
The contracting would have to be different. The housing authority would need someone on staff if they don't have someone that understands and knows the procurement process. And I don't know what the housing authority's procurement process is, but just follow the tarot, basically, is what you'd have to do.
Okay, we assume that they have that, because they're doing that now. They're contracting out subcontractor work to build houses now.
Yes.
So what's the next step?
Well, I guess, let me just make it shorter. We're willing to do that. We just don't have the go-ahead to do
Where's the
that.
ball being dropped? Why did we not do it 6 months ago? Why did we not do it 8 months ago?
Well, I don't know that, but we really started talking about it with the beginning of the new fiscal year. Well, we're willing to do it.
Have you all done any of the abstracting work?
Yes.
So those are not just gonna be a list of names that come to the housing authority. They're gonna be files where the abstracts have already been built. Abstracts have been reviewed, title opinion is in the file. And they're really ready to go to development.
Some of them are, not all of them have the completed title work done. It's being worked on, though.
Well, we've talked a lot about this, and I get the senses that the body thought we were gonna move ahead on this. And so I'm just trying to figure out, what do we need to do to move it faster? A decision has to be made.
Yes.
So get with the chief and let's get that
Yeah,
decision
well,
made.
we had a meeting this morning.
I mean, I don't wanna be talking about this next year. Then we don't just have 60 homes, we have 100 homes. I mean, if we're gonna do this, let's do it, and if we're not gonna do it, then start jumping through these hoops, such as environmental, and getting your abstracts ready, getting your layout on your land, and let's get it done.
Sure, I agree.
I mean, I don't see anybody here wanting to disagree. We want this done.
We're not disagreeing either. I'm just saying,
Well, if everybody's in agreement, then let's do it.
we report to the chief, and so he promised we'd have an answer this week.
I'm getting indication from the chief's office that he's not wanting these houses built. He wants them built.
Oh, I think so too, yes, sir.
Well,
we-
then,
we met with-
so
we met with him
executive
today.
branch is in agreement, chief's office is in agreement, and you're in agreement.
Well,
And I think the housing authority
it's
has
just,
been in
it's just
agreement.
who's gonna build them right now, that's all. That's the
Well,
decision.
next month, can you come back with that decision being made?
I can come back with that decision Monday.
I would like
next week.
that. I think everybody on this council would like to know that we're moving forward with this project. Can you email us?
I certainly can.
Okay. Now, that's done. I have one more question, if that would be okay. I would defer to my learned
Thank you.
colleague over there.
Yeah, I think where the slowdown is on this is getting Terrell contractors to do the work. There's very few Terrell contractors down in my area that can start from the ground up and build a house. And the ones that are doing it they're overworked. They have too many jobs to do because they're doing renovations, doing rebuilds on these replacement homes. So we need to get out there and hustle. Terrell contractors, I think, would make it a whole lot easier in every district, not only in mine.
Mr. Pruitt's going to talk a little bit about that here in a few minutes. But our holdup, I don't think we have a holdup. It's just a matter of doing some reviews and making a decision on whether the housing authority is going to build these units or whether we are. That's all. Okay.
Now, changing gears, storm shelters. I had a lady, which I actually have the lady's information, telephone number, address, and proper name. I think I gave you all. Maybe not her whole name. That has a disabled individual in her own, wanted to buy an above-ground storm shelter versus one below ground,
Right.
because they can roll in to one they can put in their garage versus, I don't know how you get down into the ones that are below ground. I'm assuming some of them could be maybe disabled, could be built with disabled, disability in mind, but the ones that they've looked at are above ground, can be put in the garage. They can just roll the individual into the storm shelter.
You can either put them inside the garage. Some folks would prefer to not have it in the garage, afraid of being trapped, I suppose. Or you can pour a slab outside and put it outside.
Okay, now my understanding is that this is part of what our program entails.
Well, yeah.
They do above ground or below ground.
That's right. That's right.
This next question is, she had located someone that could do this, a vendor, but was told that she couldn't use that vendor. And it was gonna be about a total cost of $2,400, which I think if she meets your guidelines, you are providing the $2,000, and they pay the difference. And she was encouraged to talk to someone that wants $3,300. Are you limited on vendors?
We're trying to use Terrell vendors.
Okay, so are the Terrell vendors running another $900,000 extra
Don't know. We've only done one above the ground.
above ground?
But it is a little more expensive. I do know that. I don't know how much.
Okay, because she's checked around, got the prices, made sure that they meet the qualifications and that they can put it in, and they're telling her about $2,400. Now, $900 is a big difference on what she's gonna have to pay. I'm wondering if we shouldn't expand our horizons a little bit, more people involved in being our vendor, or if they're not. And I'm not saying anything bad about, I'm all for Terrell, you all know that. But our Terrell vendors still need to be competitive on their price.
Amen. I agree
If
with that.
they need to understand that if they're not gonna be competitive on their price, we may have to look elsewhere. Because 33%, making an additional 33% profit on what if somebody's willing to sell it to her for $2,400, and the best we can get is $3,300, then maybe we need to let them find their own vendors. And us pay the first $2,000 as our program dictates. I'm just saying, being Terrell doesn't guarantee you that you can charge anything. And we're gonna talk about Terrell tomorrow, but
Okay, so for now, since our applicant is going to be the one that pays the difference between the 2,000 and whatever it might cost. We'll go with what our applicant wants to do.
Well, but we must make sure that what she's getting, and I'm assuming you all will, make sure that what any applicant is getting is what we expected for them to get. That it meets the,
Yep.
What is it, a wind resistance, number, I don't know, is that 90 or 120 mile an hour, or, hit it with the board and it doesn't go on through. I mean, I've seen it on TV, I guess everybody else here has probably seen the same thing, but, we would be checking to make sure that their specifications meet our specifications.
They will. They will have to be tornado certified with whatever the
And
wind speed is, 100.
you would talk to our vendors to see if they can come to that price.
Sure.
Thereby giving the Terrell vendor the work, but at a more competitive price.
That's fair.
I'll have her get in touch with you.
Okay. As a matter of fact, we may have her name.
I think she probably called you this morning.
I think she did.
Right? Called me.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, that's all I have. But those are two good programs that we really need to talk more about.
The cellars that we install and leak, what do we do?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
The cellars that we install but they leak, water comes up from the ground into the cellar, what do we do for that?
Well, if we had a contractor to do it, it would only be in the last year or so. So it would have to have a warranty. So we'll get the installer back to check it.
I've sent you one of those, I don't know, holidays have come up, I don't know if you've had time to work with it.
I remember the one. I don't know. I'm like you. I don't know the issue if it's been corrected or not, but I recall it coming in.
Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Qualls, I had a call this morning, the person looking for a tornado siren installed. Do y'all do anything in that area? I know you got these cellars ready, but if you don't know the storm's coming, you probably never would go in.
It's not a city, is it?
Pardon?
It's not for a city, is it?
No,
It's for an individual?
it's a group, a community group.
We'd certainly look at it. Where's the community?
Gooseneck Bend area in Muskogee,
Okay.
Muskogee County.
How many folks in the area?
The person called is Gail Ward. I'll get you a number.
Okay. It's not exactly rehab, but we can take a look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, have you looked at the Chelsea Boys and Girls Club? In your report, you report activities with the other Boys and Girls Club, but nothing with Chelsea.
In the self-monitoring report? Which report is it?
Community Services. I don't remember which section it is. Youth development activities, is that?
I do resign, the ones I have worked with, the ones that have contacted us, the schools, the Boys and Girls Clubs themselves have contacted us. And right now, my youth development staff, I have 3 members on my staff that cover 14 counties, and right now they're doing 12 to 14 activities a month. So they're really stretched. They rarely ever work Fridays because I don't have any staff on Fridays because they've already put in all their hours. But if Chelsea will contact me, I'll see what I can do about
Okay,
adding them in.
very good. And I know that Pam is out working all the time, because if I go to something, her staff are there. And the reports, I mean, you can tell that there's a lot of activity. So, but what I'm asking is that Chelsea needs assistance. So it sounds like, I know Pam's very willing, but I want to make sure that if they need resources, that the staff is allocated that time over there. Now, when I had, because I've had parents concerned about it on the funding and such, and we've provided some funding, but that's always going to be minimal in terms of general assistance, not to the level. So when I did the research, it looks like there's $80,000 allocated under the Delaware housing budget for the Chelsea Boys and Girls Club. but a relatively small amount actually gets to the club. Can you help me, can you research that and help me understand why that is or what's going on?
I can call the housing.
Because they're asking for money, and I'm like, well, I know that when we approved the budget, there's 80,000 that's sent over, so why aren't those repairs getting done, or the things you need getting paid for? And I understand they're gonna have some indirect costs possibly for it, but I don't know what is acceptable. I've had some indication that the Boys and Girls Club only receives 15 to 20,000 of the 80. So I don't know what the case, so if I could get a report in writing, I don't know if that needs to come from you or from Gary, okay,
I'll call Curtis Zuniga and see what he.
okay. And do you have a current at-large schedule for the year, or the ID events in district where that's at? Or is your group scheduling those, or who's got what
At-large?
responsibilities? Any, people keep.
We don't have those scheduled yet.
Because we heard about prior on Sunday coming up, and then we hadn't got any, I keep asking, so.
There was a number of events that were not gotten to last fall, District 11, for example. Councilor Taylor's area, I think there was an issue with getting the word out, so we wanted to make sure to do it as we did the other areas. So some of these that you're seeing at the beginning of the year are sort of getting done what we wanted to accomplish in the fall. So there are additional dates that are identified.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. And Ron, the information that various counselors have asked you for, could you send that to Gail or Shelley, and they could, with the speaker's permission, disperse that to all the counselors?
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, next victim. Come on.
Mr. Quaz had asked me to give you an update on weatherization supplies. We are currently delivering to numerous locations throughout the 14-county area and to some individual homes. We've delivered to approximately 20 community buildings. And they're delivering it every day. They're going to deliver for the rest of the week, and I think we have more materials coming in next Monday. So if you think of one we missed, just give us a call and we'll try to get there. I also wanted to give you, I'm sorry.
Can you tell us again what the policies are on that?
We ask for a tribal membership card, and they self-declare their income. Hopefully they're being truthful about how much they make. That was one of the reasons we delivered to the community buildings. We thought the people that distribute it would know actually who needed the material.
So the community group just needs to call.
Yes, ma'am. I also wanted to give you an update on our applications. Last year, we served 609 families. That was over a 12-month period of the fiscal year. This year, 3.5 months in, we have 410 applications in processing. So if it continues at that rate, we're gonna serve a lot of people this year. Any questions?
Go ahead. Victoria and then Stu.
David, thanks for forwarding that form to me. Can the person that's over the community who doesn't have a building, can he just check what he thinks he needs and email that to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Ron, on the, on a self-emergency, say pipes bust, something minor, are we requiring our constituents to put a lien on their home?
If the amount we spend is federal funds, and many times on these things that we're trying to fix quick is tribal funds, and we don't do a lien on tribal funds. But
You said we do or we don't?
we don't, not on tribal funds. So. But if it's federal funds, we're required to put a lien.
Okay, for 7 years?
If it's very small amount, it would be for 6 months. if it's less than $7,500, the lien would only be for 6 months.
That's, okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Pruitt, did you have a chance to check on those lots we visited with?
I think those belong to the Housing Authority, Don. Remember, Mr. Garber?
Used for building houses on?
Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure those belong to the Housing Authority.
I'm not sure they know they own them.
I can check, though. I'll check. I thought Gary was.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
David, the form that Councilor Vasquez referred to, could you send that to all of us?
Yes, ma'am.
Any more questions?
I want to make a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to commend your staff on responding to the emergency last week during the ice. I know you were going everywhere at once and got my constituents taken care of quickly, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, stick.
One more. I want to also thank you guys for taking care of the Pettit Bay area, the water district over there. That was an emergency, dire need. You guys came through. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Housing Services, Gary Cooper.
Good afternoon. I do want to mention that if any of you have any constituents that are interested in our college housing program, even though the deadline was Friday, we will still take applications for another week or so. College housing. The weather was kind of bad there for a little bit, so I'm sure that might have affected some folks getting paperwork in. But if they need to get paperwork in, just have them go ahead and fill out an application, and we will take it for. We usually try to hold it open for a couple of weeks or until all the slots are full. Online or at any of our offices, but the application is online under housing, under the services page of Cherokee.org. That's the main thing that I did want to mention. It is running a little bit late, and I think we're cutting into another folks' time, so I was going to touch a little bit on some Nahasta stuff, but I'll just kind of skip that for now. But I did want you to know about the college housing. I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Gary, I've just got a comment on that, changing all the housing authority numbers when they come into
Yes.
telephone. If they call in, when I call that number, it didn't tell me you had an 800 number for people to call. Can that be added to your message on the line?
Now, those messages are not our messages. Those are the phone company's messages. I can check and see, but now I'm not 100% sure that is the case. But I do know that all of our applications has always had both phone numbers on it. But also most of our communications numbers are posted in offices with the toll-free number on it. And one of the things that I found is, about 90% of the calls that I get to return, and it may not be the case with everyone, is back to a cell phone. So it's not necessarily long distance for those folks to call out. But one of the reasons for switching over that, for instance, we seen it last week. Counselor Thornton and Fulbright. We had to close down the office early down at Salisaw one day. The only way most folks would have known that is if they went there to the office, if they could have got there because the weather was bad. If they called in and needed to talk to someone, we could just simply reroute those calls to another office, still answer their questions, take their phone calls, help them out in any way possible, but they would not they would not get a phone call answered.
And running however you want. Well, people are telling me they call Telepro, and Telepro transposes them say back to Jay. Well, that person's not at the phone, they don't answer the phone, but they need to talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So then they in turn have to make a long distance telephone call back to Telepro. That's the problem I'm hearing from the people.
Okay. And
Whereas
if I knew of particular,
they would just pick up the phone and call. It'd be a local telephone call for them. So that's the gripe I'm hearing.
and I apologize because I haven't heard those gripes, or we would look at.
Councilors will hear those gripes before the housing authority director does.
But I would encourage those folks.
They call the council.
I would encourage those folks to leave a message, because most of my staff, if someone is in their office and they're helping them, they're going to devote their time to helping them and not answer that call if someone's sitting there across from them. But as soon as they get finished with them, they're going to return their phone calls. So that's one thing.
And that's the standard answer that we get, but that person may be on vacation for 2 weeks and never get a phone call back from them. And that's the reason I say an operator is important, because they can say, no, that person's on vacation for the next 2 weeks. What's that person going to do? Sit there for 2 weeks waiting for that person to call him? That's the problem I hear, or we hear. So anyway, you got it worked out, and hopefully it works for you.
It seems to be so far. I mean,
I haven't got any more calls, to be honest with you.
we started that probably back in September, October. So I mean, it's
didn't know about it until about a month ago, so apparently it's worked. So anyway, I just want to bring
So
it up.
I mean, there are, I'm sure, a few issues with that, but the biggest thing that we seen was it worked out good last week whenever we did have to shut down the Salas office, and that'd be the case in other offices. The other good thing with that is, for instance, like up in Victoria's area, where I may only have staff at a low rent project office a couple of days a week. And they may be in another office a couple of days a week. All someone has to do is call that person's extension, and it doesn't matter if they're sitting in the Veneta office, if they're sitting in the Bartlesville office, what office they're sitting in. That call is transferred directly to them, so they're not having to call Veneta.
It's just like, and I don't know if you're thinking of it, but I like to keep things localized. I like to keep them in communities. This is not keeping people in the community localized and not in the community. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I want to give you a good example. Back when I worked for the Cherokee Nation, we have a water and sanitation office in Bull Hall. That's in a community. Well, it got decided they were going to move it to Telephone one day because that's what they wanted to do. Well, I didn't know what to do, so I got on the telephone and called Chief Mankill, and I said, Chief, your staff is moving this office to Telephone. He said, you don't move anything, Harley, brother. You sit right there, so I'll take care of it. He said, when I took office, that was our goal, to put services out in the community. If those people could actually call that office, they could go down to that office and talk to people, not have to call telephone and get services. That's the reason I was getting at this here. People like to deal locally. We're not dealing locally when they call telephone. So that's just my point. I just want to bring that up.
Well,
That's fine.
yeah. And the whole and one of the reasons is there's only two numbers that folks have to remember, and if they know the folks' extension, it doesn't matter what office they're in, they're connected with them just like that. And if that person is not there, then that phone call can be transferred to someone in another office. For instance, if I just have one person in the J office who may work on applications and they're out sick, that phone can roll over to another office. And that person still gets all their questions answered, but they don't know that they're not talking to a person sitting there at J. Yeah.
Thank you.
But no, we are not moving any offices or anything like that. It's just simply the phone system to try to improve that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 59 homes completed and handed off to families. Am I reading the report correctly?
I believe as of the end of November, that was correct. And that wouldn't include all of the homes that rehab done as replacement homes, which utilizes our house plan.
Okay, and then is it 1,763 applications in total for the new home construction? It's page 16 in our reports. I don't know.
And I don't have those numbers. I show
It says current
total applications 1,763 for the new housing construction program.
Okay, so and above that, the current program participants show 1,274 for home ownership. So why don't those, I don't understand why the numbers don't align.
Different programs. One is applicants and one is participants. If someone is counted as a participant, they're not an applicant anymore. They've already been served as an applicant.
So we
It's
have a
basically those
total-
we're currently served and those who have asked to be
We have
served.
approximately 3,000 people waiting on homes, is what you're telling me
No.
in some form or fashion.
No.
Minus the 59 that have gotten a home.
No.
Okay, if they're if they're a participant and they're no longer an applicant, then they wouldn't be counted in the applicant.
They would not be counted as an applicant.
So you would
They're
total
already receiving,
1763 plus 1274.
no, the 1274 already have houses, already have some type of housing. Those folks are current participants. They already live in some type of housing unit.
So the 59, sorry, is the 59
That is the new,
new construction,
the
not
new, the
replacement
brand new construction program. Doesn't include replacement homes, doesn't include mutual help homes, rural rental homes, things like that. Rural rental and mutual help homes would be included in the home ownership programs numbers there. Those are units that are still under management, that we still manage.
I may have to call and just go over this report with
Okay.
you again. And then to Harley's point, or Councilman Buzzard's point, can we like use out of office on Outlook and the voice over IP phones and say, if I'm gonna be, some people have gotten better about it.
Yeah.
I've noticed
Oh.
it's improved.
Yeah.
But it needs to be mandatory if they're out.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we are doing. And there's the new phone system and the link system is going to be interconnected. So whenever it shows up on someone's calendar that they're out, it shows up on the receptionist that person is out. It also will show up that person is on the phone once that piece of it is put into place, and I expect that here pretty
Okay,
soon.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
and that out of office, that's the same type of deal, is it would automatically show that, for instance, Kara is out at the office today, or she has an appointment already scheduled, sorry, she's not available right now, can someone else help you, or would you like to leave a message type deal?
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gary, I was looking at your numbers, page 19, I don't know if you got it or not. But under construction, it had under and ready for construction, and there was 112 of them.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, of course, the ones that was completed was 59, so that totaled 171.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was another set of construction, another set of numbers, and there was 205 in process,
Yes.
216 with the land development.
Yes.
The 112 that was in construction.
Yep.
The 59 completed, and it
Yes.
totaled roughly 600.
Yes.
So, them are the numbers that we're looking at?
Yes, ma'am.
For this coming year?
Mhm. Yeah, and what we're looking at is right now I've tasked my staff with kind of a two-pronged process. Is basically we work all winter, get as many homes ready to go whenever weather turns and we can start building in spring, that we can start cranking those out. And then the next part of that is, hopefully by summer, anyone else that was left on the waiting list that says they have land and does have buildable sites, that those folks would get served then. So that's what we're trying to work through, is to get all those folks who have land out. And you are correct as far as those numbers go.
So if we take the 600 and take out the 59 we're already done, we're looking at 550 this time next year.
Hopefully. Now, some of those may fall through. They may not work. Yeah.
Well, I'm
Some-
glad to see
somewhere in
that.
that neighborhood.
Looks like we're picking it up and we're getting it back on track. I
Yeah.
know it's been a mess since
It has been.
this council dismantled the housing authority and getting it back on track.
Working on
Taking
getting
a
there.
long time, proud of that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Roads and Transportation, Michael Lynn.
Good afternoon. You have a copy of my report. I do want to mention that in December, for the month of December, we did transport with our transit system 3,417 rides during the month of December. And then also we are holding a final inspection on the Twin Oaks Bull Hollow project in Delaware County next week on the 20th. That's a 9.5-mile job that is finishing up, and we will be holding a final inspection with the contractor on the 20th. I wanted to make those two announcements, and again, you have my report, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I
driveway, did we get that settled, or did they please him, basically? Is what I'm
I've been told that we have the driveway situation resolved the best that we can resolve it. I don't know that we've communicated that fully with the landowner at this time. I'd have to check with the staff to find out if they have met with him. I know we've met with him numerous times over a period of years, months, but I need to find out if we have met with him recently and talk to him about it. But yes, I will.
Any other questions?
Yeah, the Dwight Mission Road
Yes.
project,
Yes.
how our money south of I-40, we're getting any closer?
We just added that one to our system. I know Commissioner Carter has tried to get some funding through some other funding sources. I'm not sure exactly whether he has had any luck. I don't think he has. You're shaking your head like you might know. I don't think he has. I think he was trying to get some lake access money through the state, and then it seemed like there's one other funding source he was trying.
What about north of I-40 there?
Well, north and south is, yeah, I'm sorry, what was the last part? What was your last part of your question, north and south?
Going up by the stomp grounds?
Yes, that whole stretch, north and south of 40, is on our system, and will be improved. What we were doing was allowing the commissioner to try to get additional funding sources if possible. That was part of the deal when we worked it out with the county, with the Sequoia County, was that they would chip in some local funding if they could obtain it.
Has anyone looked at the road going south to the park down there about making that wider road and extending it out?
I don't know about looking at the road width. I know we're looking at improving it going into the park. If it needs to be widened, we'll take that into consideration for sure.
Who would we look at to help overlay inside the park?
Let me check and see if that, I don't want to tell you incorrectly, but I'm thinking that may be part of this Dwight Mission project. Let me check for sure and let you know.
Thank you.
If it's part of that project, it'll be taken care of.
Yeah, okay. They're in bad shape, so oh, I forgot about that. How can we get those potholes filled up there at, on the mountain?
We're working on that. Gary ran off, I think, but Gary and I have been talking about that, and Ron has been involved with it. You're talking about, just so everybody knows, he's talking about Redbird Smith Housing Edition, and we're working on a solution to that. Yes, I saw Gary provided some pictures to me last week, and yeah, the weather certainly isn't helping matters up there.
The school's hollering about it, their buses are.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't lost a bus yet.
Okay. One out of line or something.
Report on Nycut North.
Nycut North is progressing along. The weather slowed it up a little bit. They're in the process of putting the new cross drains in right now. Once the cross drains, and they're large structures, concrete structures, more like bridges, small bridges. Once those are in place, then the overlay portion of the project will begin.
Will they come back and burn the brush that they have?
Yes. Yes, yeah. All of the right-of-way, any of the debris that's been pushed in the right-of-way should be cleared by the end of the project.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
That would be good.
I think they are hoping people will come cut it for their firewood, but in the end, it is their responsibility to clean it up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That it, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commerce, Anna Knight.
I just have one brief thing that I wanted to mention, and that is one of the last rules in response to the mortgage crisis a couple of years ago went into effect January 10th, which requires the debt-to-income ratios for mortgage applicants to be 43% or less, which is a huge step. It's the strongest indicator of whether or not people can afford a home. Other than that, you have a copy of my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Jody?
Yeah, I was at CNE today, and I was really glad to hear that you all go up there and do credit counseling
Mm-hmm.
for the ones that have something showing up on the background check.
They're some of our best customers.
Thank you.
Do you have a program that, in other words, adds to add a barn to where a person lives?
The tribal credit program is a loan program, and it could potentially do that if the circumstances are right and if the funding was available.
Where do you get those can you give me an application for that?
Sure, sure. I can, I'll have one emailed to you.
That tells me he's gonna get one, and it's no payback, and all that kind of stuff.
It would be a loan, it would be a payback.
Those be income-based or?
The loans are not. The IDA program may work as well. I'll send you information on both of those programs. That has the income guidelines on the IDA.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
I didn't know what the program.
Lee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anna, the commerce is always kind of a bright spot in our meetings, is that we hardly ever ask you any questions. You know, I mean, so you must be doing something right. And I see that the math foreclosure rate's 2.4%, but I noticed that there's kind of an uptick, it seems like, in the 14 county area on serious delinquencies.
There are, and actually we're doing a little bit of data gathering and analysis right now on the mortgage, because nationwide the mortgage rates and the foreclosure rates are falling, the mortgage delinquencies, but that's not quite holding true in our area. So we're trying to do a little bit of research, and we'll provide you guys with some updated numbers next month.
Okay, great. And I have noticed that you include all of the counties.
Yes.
So that's good.
Yes.
And I see you have a 100% satisfaction rate on those things.
We do, we
I don't know if
do.
you just stuck that in there.
No, it is. And most of our satisfaction rates, we not only have them complete evaluations, but then we do spot checks, particularly in the entrepreneurial development skills, where we contact them 30 to 60 days later to find out, did you use what you learned in your business to help you? And so we try to do a little bit of comprehensive evaluation.
And one more question on the families that are housed. For 2013, what was the number on that? Do you have it off the top of your head?
I don't have it off the top of my head. It should be about 150 is what it should be, but I can get that number and send it to you.
So 14 will be just a little bit more. So
It'll be
that's
just
good.
a little bit more with the increase in this amount of assistance.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Okay, old business unpending, new business unpending. Any announcements?
Motion we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, sir. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Oh, Joe.